tell us a little bit about your background. I know you studied finance and economics. You've got extensive experience in that space. How did you end up where you are at Luxor today?
Yeah, well, first of all, Lee, thanks so much for having me on the podcast here. It's great to speak with you. As you mentioned, we were down in Austin. It was my first time down there. I've been to Dallas a few times, but first time to Austin with that trade delegation you mentioned, and we had a fantastic time and tons of brainstorming and really learned a lot from what you guys are doing. As you mentioned, and just for everyone listening, my title at Luxor Technologies is I'm Associate Director of Derivatives, which is a new business line we've just recently launched, and we can touch on that later. I'm also on the mining and policy committee for the Canadian Blockchain Consortium. So, trying to replicate some of the good work that you've done down in Texas up north here. And in terms of my background, a little bit all over the place. I try to do a little bit of everything, but it's mostly been finance and economics focused. Like you said, studied finance and economics in school. Out of school, I did the investment banking thing. Worked for National Bank Financial in Toronto as part of their diversified investment banking team, where we covered power and utilities, consumer products, industrial products, and real estate. And then after that was on the equity capital markets floor briefly, working on equity issuances for different public companies on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Then flipped over from the private sector into the public sector, did a master's degree at Columbia University in New York. I did a brief stint over in the Middle East, working in the Jordanian Royal Court in the economic and fiscal affairs team there. Did a brief stint for a consulting firm back here in Alberta before joining the government here in Alberta, the provincial government, which would be the equivalent of your state government. I served in that government. It would have been last year and the year before. Served as a policy advisor for the Minister of Treasury, Board and Finance, which would be the equivalent of your treasurer, and the premier, which is the equivalent of a governor in the United States. And had enough of the political thing. Got some good experience, particularly during the COVID crisis. Alberta was uniquely impacted, not just because of the virus itself and the economic activity that it took with it, but because the oil price crashed. So there were some very particular fiscal pressures on the province. And got out of the political side, want to come back to the private sector, was looking at, maybe going to consulting, back into banking, a bunch of different things, and had an old friend, Ethan Vera, who people from the mining community might be familiar with, reach out and tell me about Luxor and what they were doing and what they were looking at to do to build out their derivatives desk. So I was brought on board to help build out the derivatives desk and also do a couple other things at Luxor. But now I'm working at the derivatives desk at Luxor, which is really the first of its kind, and excited to tell you more about that. And working with our head of derivatives, Matt Williams, who is a third generation trader out of Chicago. He worked for the CME, the NFA, has a past in options trading and energy trading, and he even helped launch the Bitcoin futures product on the CME exchange. So extensive background, and the two of us, and we're currently looking at expanding our team, are really running the derivatives desk at Luxor, and excited about this new product and really the maturation of the Bitcoin mining industry. But that's really my story and how I got involved in this.